I mean, kind of, when people hear this, you won't be live.
All I hear is...
All right, Gregg Gelmis.
Hey, glad to be here.
Welcome to my amateur podcast hour.
Yeah, I kind of like the setup. This is nice.
It might go an hour and a half. I don't know. We'll see how the conversation is. The setup's very thrown together. I feel like each podcast, my game steps up a little bit. So I got like a new camera rig thing a few episodes ago, and I'm learning how to actually use the f-stop or aperture, and use...
Oh, I've heard of that before.
I've heard of that. The ISO setting and figuring out the zoom length and frames per second.
Oh, yeah.
And then now got this nice, neat box studio light that you provided for me today just to test out. I think I might have to invest. So the reason I'm talking about all these crazy technical camera terms is because, Gregg, how I know you is to be pretty much the premier photographer for almost all of Huntsville's like sporting events, not just running or cycling, but also other things that we have going on in the community. I think I've seen a bunch of volleyball lately, and then I'm sure there's other things like soccer and baseball and other stuff you've done, right?
Basketball last week.
Oh, yeah? Where was that?
CUSA basketball. They had the conference playoffs here in Huntsville. 5 days of it.
So are you a huge sports fan?
Yes and no.
Because I kind of think that you need to be somewhat fan of at least some of these events that you're going to, or at least also know about how they're played, so you know the right spots to get into, frame the right action shot.
That certainly plays into it, and I think it improves my photography because I am a runner. I am a cyclist. I am a swimmer. With the volleyball, you mentioned volleyball, the beach volleyball, that's actually how I met my wife, was playing volleyball.
Is she a volleyball player?
We both used to play a lot of volleyball. Now, Of course, we don't play now because I blew out my knee a couple times. But yeah, that's how we met.
Does she support your photography endeavors?
She certainly does. She used to a little bit more than she does now. And I think what broke her was the one race, and I'm wanting to say it was the one at the Space and Rocket Center, where was the triathlon out there. Mm-hmm. Which one was that?
Are you talking about Try for Old Glory?
Try for Old Glory, yeah. That's it. So we were out there and it was raining, and I had some cheaper equipment at that time, and I had her walking around with me holding an umbrella over me the entire race. And for some reason, ever since then, she's like, she doesn't want to go with me to a race. Can't imagine why.
So she was basically your caddy the whole time. Camera equipment caddy.
Pretty much. Go for whatever needed to be done, and she fulfilled her duty, and now she doesn't go.
How long have you been shooting for all these various events and sporting activities?
So I started way back kind of high school, picked up a camera in high school, and really got into it in college. I went to the University of Houston back a long time ago when Akeem Olajuwon was going to school there, who was the center for the Rockets for a while. But he was actually playing there, was Phi Slamma Jamma, him. So I got to shoot them playing basketball.
Oh, really?
For the yearbook. So I did that years ago. I kind of dropped out of it when I got into the workforce. And then we moved here probably 15 years ago and picked it up again.
So at that time, was it digital or film?
Oh, back then it was all film. And oh man, you'd have a roll of 36 and you'd be taking those pictures.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you'd run out of film right about the time they're running back at you. So hurry up and try to change the film real quick and put in another roll. And then you had 3 or 4 hours after that of developing and printing.
Now we probably can go on and on and on about cameras, and we probably will. So I'll try to like not fill all of our time with cameras. Maybe you can give me some advice and pointers. What do you think? Well, do you recall your first camera or digital camera? That is.
My first digital camera was, and I don't remember the name brand. It was an off brand. It was a little round thing that you held like this, and it had a little bitty screen on it, and it was kind of crooked a little bit. So you actually held it like this to take the picture. You didn't hold it straight. You held it at a little bit of an angle so that that screen was straight. But the neat thing about it was you could jump in the water and take pictures with it.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was such a great idea.
How many megapixels was it? That's what they're all talking about. Megapixels. Man.
Maybe half a megapixel.
Like nothing at all.
Oh, yeah. It was nothing. It was 640, I think.
Oh, wow. So very tiny and grainy. And
tiny, tiny, tiny.
Wow. Okay.
And then the cards were maybe 1 meg.
And then how expensive was it?
It was a couple $100. It was still expensive back then, but as you get more and more megapixel, it still stays pretty expensive.
Do you find that now you've got some cameras and they're just like, I don't need to replace these almost ever? The tech's gotten so good. Is it like always ever improving and you're like, ooh, I like that feature, I want to get that. Oh, that would save so much time in editing.
So there's a lot of people that are old school that are still using the regular digital cameras. They call them SLRs. And now they've moved on to the ones that are mirrorless.
Yeah.
And it's a whole nother step forward. I just got 2 brand new cameras back in November, Canon R1s, and they're light years ahead of what I had before. Just the focusing, the low light ability, that type of thing.
Do you like to stick to one brand versus another? Are you a Canon guy, or you're like, oh, that Sony looks pretty good over there, I think I might have to pick me up one of them. I don't know what they call them, Sony EX3000s. I don't know.
So I tried that, but once you get into the ecosystem,
you got a lot of lenses.
And I just sold all of my old SLR ones when they came out with the new mirrorless with Canon. Whole new line of just everything was new.
Yeah.
All those new zoom lenses and everything. So I had to transition. I ended up selling everything on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually did really well. I got like 60% back after using these cameras for years.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been looking at with all of this and trying to figure out the best way to record, at least video. That's a whole nother realm. Audio's been kind of, for the most part, easy. But video, it's just like, oh my gosh, there's so much to it. And then there's ways, like, do you want to, record in this many megapixels and frames per second, and then what's your, lighting situation, how are you zoomed in, how are you cropped out, and it's so much, and I almost need a cheat sheet to. Well, you saw me trying to set up this whole thing, and I'm almost like, Greg, come on, man, why don't you do this for me? But do you think with the progression of the tech, it's gotten easier, or to shoot and record amazing shots, or is it getting progressively harder? Because now it's like so easy to shoot thousands upon thousands of photos, and then you're like, which ones do I select from? I would imagine that's the hardest thing, is you've got all these array of shots that are just fantastic and beautiful, and which one do you choose to post or to share or highlight?
That's always an issue, and so it has definitely leveled the playing field. You can get a lot more people doing it. Because with the digital, you don't have to know how to develop the film and how to print. On the flip side, I couldn't do what I do now with the film camera. There's no way. With 36, a roll of 36, I shoot 3,000 to 5,000 pictures at a race.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Well, that begs the question. Is that the phrase I want to use? Begs the question that arises. The question that I have is, do you think photography, or at least the hobby of photography, has completely changed? Because now you don't have to spend a lot of time like going for a shot. You just take a whole bunch of shots and move, versus, hey, I've only have 36 exposures with this film. I don't even know if I got it. I've got to wait for the right lighting, the right time, the right focus, and then snap. I think I got it. I won't know until it's developed. Do you think that's changed how we utilize photography these days?
Definitely, because you get instant feedback. You can take the picture, and the nice thing is you're not paying it for it. It was basically probably $1 or $2 every time I took a picture. It's $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And you think about, okay, well, on a per picture basis, okay, that's not bad, $1. But then you start thinking about, you're shooting 36 pictures. It's $36 back in the 80s that you're paying for something. It's a lot of money.
So this has always been an expensive profession / hobby for you.
Oh yeah, very expensive. Yeah, very expensive. I don't even want to tell you how much gear I have sitting out there right now.
We can have you, if you want to go grab some and show it off and teach us a lesson or two. We can go for it. But
we'll do that in a minute.
I think what has been impressive, at least from what I know of you and about you, you always are coming into these races with some new way to record or capture somebody at these events, whether it's underwater shot or hanging from a certain ladder, or even you've got this one wheel contraption that's pretty awesome. In fact, Mia, why don't you go to the pictures and hit here we go. We'll stay on this one for a while. So where is this right here? Where is this taken?
So this was taken in Guntersville, and this picture got me in a lot of hot water.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Can
you tell, or are you still?
Well, yeah, it's not a bone of contention. Well, maybe it is still a bone of contention, but
I don't want to get you in trouble. So if there's ever anything I ask that's like, oh, that's off limits, yeah, go for it.
Okay. We'll tell you we won't go there.
I'm here to entertain and have fun, but not get anybody, arrested.
So this was back in the day, probably 10 years ago in Guntersville, when we had the whole weekend of triathlon stuff going on. And at this race, I didn't even realize somebody was taking a picture of me, but I was laying down on one of the docks and people were swimming underneath me. Well, I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's no strap on that camera. I'm holding that camera over the water and shooting back toward the swimmers. And my wife saw that picture and she was not happy with me.
How high above the water are you?
About 3 feet.
Oh, so if you fell in, you're falling in 3 feet.
And it's 6 feet deep probably there. So I'd be on the bottom of the water, kind of trying to hold my hand up, keep the camera out of the water.
So was she upset because you had a really high, expensive camera that could plop into the water and
with no strap?
With no strap.
The strap was the issue.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still don't use a strap.
You don't use a strap?
I don't. I find that it's too constricting. It's always in the way. Every time you pick it up and put the camera in front of you, the strap drapes right across the viewfinder.
Okay.
So it's always in the way. So I never use a strap. One of these days it's going to catch up to me.
Maybe you can invent a new, shoulder invention where it's like wrapped around the backside. And
they've got some of those, but I kind of I've got a waist belt. I don't know if it's in one of the pictures, but you can actually hang the camera off to the side. Yeah, that one actually has a little knob at the bottom of it. The little silver knob at the bottom.
Mia, if you hit that arrow button by the stop thing. Okay, so go to the, yeah, right there. That'll let you forward through. There's one of you, one picture.
I don't think I have it on any of them.
Oh, okay.
But I've got a little belt where I can actually hang it on the belt, and that frees my hands up to where I can carry another camera. So what I typically do is I have like a long zoom on one camera and a wide angle zoom on the other so that I can get up close and take pictures. And that way I'm not switching lenses in the middle. I'm just using two different cameras.
You got a favorite camera?
They're both exactly the same.
Just different lenses. Do you have a preferred lens? Like if you were just like,
oh yeah,
here's my, like, you're left with your favorite camera, but then your favorite lens. What's your go-to lens?
70 to 200. It's a long zoom.
70, really?
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. The pictures are just spectacular with it. I don't even have to do anything. All I have to do is hold it up and push the button, and it does it for me.
Is it hard?
So good.
Is it hard to? I guess now with the new technology, there's a lot of, I guess, stabilization in the software of the camera and stuff. But is it hard to hold camera steady with? Because that's a 70 to 200 is a pretty long lens typically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that hard to stabilize?
Not really. Where you get into it is you just make the camera speed faster.
Oh, okay.
And that will take care of a lot of it. But there's actually stabilization built into the lens, which is really nice. So if I shot at a very slow speed, it would compensate and just kind of jiggle on the inside as I'm riding around.
Man, there's so much to all of this photography, from lenses and stabilization in lenses to the, I don't know what they call it, but the thing that captures all the images, that's on a little girdle type thing to keep it from like moving around.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got the software that can also take that away. And I guess that's more important if you're shooting video or something like that. But do you shoot video?
I have tried, but I can't wrap my head around how to actually splice it all together and edit it to where it looks good.
Yeah,
I'm good at shooting kind of a lot of it.
Yeah,
they call it B-roll, a lot of it. I can shoot that. I shoot it with the drone a lot of times. But
that's a whole nother hobby and art of itself, is taking footage, throwing it into an editing program, and then splicing it and making a story of it. That's all. You win an Oscar for that, is what you do.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got the whole video world over here. You've got the photography world, and within the photography world, you've got all these segments too. I mean, I've had several people come up and say, "Hey, Greg, we love your photography. Will you come and shoot our wedding?" And I think for a minute and go, "Only if you're running at me." And then I say, "I'm really sorry, but I don't do weddings. It's not my thing."
That's a great answer. Only if you're running at me.
Only if you're running at me. And they look at me going,
like, what?
What?
I only do sporting events, kid. That's great. All right. So this has been a hobby, lifestyle thing that you've been doing a while, but you've also, like, your profession before this was something else completely, correct?
I had a real job.
I didn't think I knew this. I just thought you were like Gregg Gelmis, the photo guy the whole time. Tell me what you did you're retired now, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do previous other than obviously photography?
I graduated with a business degree.
Okay.
My first job out of school, I actually spent 2 years overseas working in the petrochem, and then I came back to Houston.
The who?
Petrochem, chemical.
That's the company.
Well, I thought you were talking about a country, and I was like, no, petrochem is just kind of the overall oil industry.
Okay.
We were doing seismic surveying overseas, so I did that for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then I came back, and all my buddies, all my friends, their dads all worked for NASA. Hey, I'd love to work for NASA. So I applied there and got a job and worked shuttle program office, station program office, crew office for a while. And then Karen got a really good position here in Huntsville with the Marshall Space Flight Center. So we moved here about 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So I transferred over and worked science for 15 years.
Oh, so you weren't working NASA here in Huntsville. You were working NASA at a different location.
I worked for, let's see, 20 years in Houston.
Okay.
For NASA. Then we both transferred to the NASA center here.
Gotcha. I didn't know you're from that area or lived in that area. Good old
Grew
Houston.
up in Houston.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'd spent a lot of my growing up years in Texas as well.
Really?
So I was more central Texas. So
like Austin?
A little north, the Belton area, and then eventually Waco. So Waco. Yeah. So good old keep Waco wacko.
So I miss Texas, but I don't think I could move back to Houston.
Yeah, you know what I miss about Texas mainly, or there's lots of things you miss, lots of things you don't miss, but a fun thing that I really like and appreciate about Texas is clear night, especially in the central Texas area, and you're in an area. Not many lights. You can see the sky from there's no obstructions. It's just like, I don't know what field of view that is, but 180 basically. It's like just the whole night sky because it's very flat in some areas of Texas.
Yeah,
and you can just see forever in the night sky from one end of the horizon to the next. And gosh, it's really beautiful, nice.
Yeah, that'd be Houston, very flat. Get outside of Houston, no light pollution or less.
So you all both eventually transferred here to Huntsville. What was your impressions of it to begin with? Like it, not like it? I mean, it's a completely different arena when you compare it to Houston, because Houston, oh man, you drive from one end to Houston to the other, and it takes you a complete hour with traffic, or more.
A lot more than an hour. It used to take us, we were only a few miles from the freeway, and it'd probably take us 30 minutes to an hour to get to the freeway.
So here it's still lickety split. I mean, you need to get to Madison, and it's just like, if you time it right, 15 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. It's much different being here. It was a little bit of a difference. The philosophy between Johnson Space Center and Marshall is very different.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting dealing with. Both our kids were in school, and one of them was in high school, and she didn't talk to me for a year. She was so upset.
Yeah.
And what's funny is now she's gone away to school and come back, and now she's living here, so she loves it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
You worked to some degree on the space shuttle then.
Back in Houston, I was working on space shuttle.
What kind of things? Because the space shuttle has a very special place in my heart, because that was like when I was in grade school, the shuttle was happening, and that got me excited about all things space. Oh man, especially there's a movie, Space Camp, came out, and gosh, I wanted to go to space camp in Houston so bad. I never got the opportunity, of course, but I really wanted to go to space camp,
Well, I think as an adult, you still can. I think they have some programs for adults.
Really?
Maybe a day program. I don't think it's... I
need to check that out.
Yeah,
I might...
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so the space shuttle, super fun for me as a kid, right? That's like, I want to be an astronaut kind of thing. What'd you do? What kind of things were you involved in? Because there's so many complexities to what happens with the space shuttle, and there's people think about rocket scientists, but there's also like people who like really think about and organize how experiments are going to go up, how they compartmentalize everything, and then there's anything from flight suits to there's so many things, so many assets. What would you do? I'm so curious.
So my job was doing budgeting, but I got to work on some really cool stuff. Like with the space shuttle, I was doing what was called optional services. So whenever the space shuttle flew and we had a customer like Intelsat was one of our customers. They had launched a satellite. The second stage didn't burn correctly, and it was just adrift.
Okay.
And it was at the right altitude to where the shuttle could fly up to it, grab it, bring it into the shuttle bay, and connect it to another upper stage and release it and fly it up to its geosynchronous orbit. So it was a really cool thing to work on because you were saving a several $1 million satellite.
Hold on. You just spoke a bunch of like NASA technical terms and stuff, and you're like, yeah, I just did the budget. It's like, you know this stuff.
Well, it was fun, and it was neat because optional services were whenever someone came in and wanted to fly someone on the shuttle, it cost money to do that. And we had to figure out how much time did our people spend teaching this person how to fly. They're called payload specialists. If someone comes in from outside the agency and wants to have their person fly up with us, they have to pay for the training. It was all a reimbursable type thing. Like when you flew, you got 1 day worth of operations included in the launch package. If you wanted to have multi-day operations, you had to pay extra for the training, for the astronaut time, all this other stuff. So we were the ones who priced that out and negotiated that with the customers.
Wow. So you have to know a lot about how that program works so you can give a good cost analysis.
That's a part of it, but a lot of it is just knowing the right people to talk to that knew, okay, here's what we wanted to do. How much manpower was it going to take? How many hours was it going to take?
So you had to start being really good at being a liaison between different channels.
Sure. But then the coolest job was working for the flight crew office, the astronaut office, basically.
So, because you're at that point probably in communication with some of the astronauts.
In there, yeah, they'd come through my office looking for money and stuff, but it was really cool because we had all the T-38s sitting out on the flight deck.
What currency do they use in space?
Oh, we don't want to go there. But they had all the planes out there, so we were involved in rebuilding the planes. They had a lot of maintenance stuff. But we also had some planes like the KC-135 that was there called the Vomit Comet.
Oh, gross. Okay.
That's the one that flies the parabolas.
So gives them the training or the experience of weightlessness, right?
Exactly. So I went through the class so I could fly on that, I got to fly on.
So you've been up in one of those planes, so you've been weightless.
Yes.
Dude, what's that like?
30 seconds at a time. It's really cool until they pull up and start heading back up, and then you come down. And you've got to be ready to come down.
So when you're going up, you're experiencing some G forces at that point.
Yeah.
Do you know what the G forces are when you're
ascending? I don't remember. It wasn't really that bad.
Okay, so you weren't,
it's kind of like being in a sports car and kind of pushing back. But as they crest it and start coming back down, that period is when you feel the weightlessness because you're basically falling at the same rate as the plane. So you stay.
Does your stomach kind of come up in your chest the first couple of times?
It really does. And it doesn't really hit you until someone throws up. And then you smell it throughovt the plane. They try to move them to the very back so that they don't affect everybody.
And if they're doing it when they're floating, there's a few seconds where that vomit's just floating around, and then it hit. Oh, that's so.
And then it just goes junk.
That's awesome. So, how many times you get to do that?
We did 32 parabolas. And then we did like 4 more simulating the moon. So it wasn't zero gravity, but less gravity. So you're kind of hopping through the middle of the plane because there's only seats at the very back.
Yeah.
There's no seats in the middle because they have payloads there that they're working on, or astronauts are training, or they're just
need room to float around.
Just floating around.
So you that's one plane ride, but 32 runs.
Yes.
Okay. Did you do it more than once, or do you just only have one opportunity to?
I just did it the one time. That was enough.
Did you throw up?
I was really close, but someone had a little handheld fan that I used.
So you're experiencing kind of temperature changes, right? What caused that, or just not well ventilated in there?
There's not a lot of airflow. It does get hot because you've got a lot of computer equipment, and you're just excited.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like you're doing a bike ride. You build it up and you start sweating.
Okay. And that's awesome.
Oh, it was fun. It was so much fun.
And how old were you when that
40?
40. Okay. Man, that's God. I'm so envious now. I totally want to do that.
But then we also had the Super Guppy, which is the big fat looking one that flies into Marshall occasionally, and the front end of it opens up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Where the transports a
lot of space equipment.
Yeah. Man, that's fascinating. I didn't know you worked for NASA. I don't think and if you probably told me, it maybe went over my head or something like that, but that's really fascinating.
Yeah, it's a really cool place to work. I had a lot of fun, but then I retired like 5 years ago. And now I just do the photography and running stuff. A lot of care and feeding of the running stuff.
Yeah.
In the community.
I think I wanted to ask, I guess on a side note from the space, were you heavily involved with looking at, because you had been taking, I'm sure, photos and photography. Like, did you ever try to involve yourself in any aspect of the either video or things that they capture in space, photography wise?
I did try to get on when I was in aircraft operations with the team that was doing photography from the T-38s.
Mm-hmm.
That's the little 2-seater training aircraft that they use for the astronaut. But you had to be a flight engineer to fly with them. They had really restricted who got to fly in those jets because they had some incidents where people went for joyrides.
But what do you think about some of the images captured on, out in space, the moon, stuff like that?
Love the IMAX. In fact, I worked on the IMAX project. That was one of the optional services that we provided, was the brackets that mounted the cameras in the payload bay for IMAX.
Oh, okay.
Every time they flew, they needed a new bracket because it was angled differently. Love going to see the IMAX movies. They're just spectacular.
I guess with the IMAX too, mounted to their systems, vessels, whatever spacecraft, that's film at that point.
Yes, that was all film.
And IMAX film that gets heavy.
Huge.
So you're calculating then at that point, because they're calculating everything in terms of weight, what goes up into space. You're really having to say, we got to really have these cameras on point, shooting when we want and how long we want, and this is what we have allotted for it, right?
They've got a whole group.
Who's in charge of that?
They've got a whole group in MOD, Mission Operations Directorate, that goes through and looks at astronaut timelines.
Wow.
And another group that looks at payload timelines, because some of the payloads can work on their own. But anytime there's an astronaut involved, they've got basically minute by minute what they're doing each day. And so they have to allocate the time for the IMAX, what angles they're going to be in, where they're going to be. If they're going to be in, they have to, the shuttle goes around the Earth once every 90 minutes.
Yep.
So you're only 45 minutes in the sun, and then you're 45 minutes basically in the dark. You've got to time it just right to capture what you want.
Right.
Like the release of the Intelsat. When they filmed that, they had to make for sure that they were pushing the button at the right time.
Has that you think that's gotten you? And I'm ignorant to all the space things. Do you think that's gotten easier now with digital?
Oh yeah, much easier. And just the fact that you can take 3,000 to 5,000 pictures on a card, immediately take it and look at it on your laptop, or you can look at it on the back of your phone. So it's much easier than it used to be.
All right, very controversial question. Was the moon landing faked?
So
I'm not a conspiracy theorist here, and there's other podcasts for that. But
yeah.
as much as you're into photography and also space with NASA, you're in the know. Was the moon landing fake?
It was all shot
in a studio
with
Stanley Kubrick
on the moon.
Wait, what does that mean? It's not a studio. Wait, there's a studio on the moon?
A really big studio.
Yeah,
with lots of dust.
I don't know that. I can't believe people have those conspiracy theories that it was fake.
Oh, bless their hearts.
There's so many documentation and footage, and it's like you can go and find it and ask for it, and they'll give it to you. But it's really cool. I like the space program. What do you think about Elon Musk and SpaceX and Blue? Was it Blue
Origin?
Origin, yeah. That's Bezos, right? The billionaires just like throwing up their money to go up in space,
I think
colonize Mars.
Done is amazing. I think it's amazing that you can fly a booster back. You just have to be careful when you're doing human space flight. You have to follow the rules, and you've got to have systems in place to make sure you're protecting the crew. When you lose a crew,
yeah,
you don't want to go through that.
Yeah,
we don't want to go through that ever again. I am just hoping that they are paying attention to the details. In fact, on shuttle, they can trace a bolt back to where they got the raw materials to make the bolt.
Oh, wow.
A lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
But you want that because you want to be able to figure out if something happens, why did it happen, so you can keep it from happening in the future. And I'm hoping that these other organizations are adhering to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, when you think about where we are in the history of things, space is that final frontier, as cliche as that is from a Star Trek standpoint. But, you know, back in the day, you know, discovering new worlds, you hopped in a wooden boat and sailed into the ocean blue and discovered a new land. And, you know, a couple of centuries later, you know, you formed a new nation, right? And here we are in America, but space is really the unknown, and we're only on the crest, the top part of where we know we can explore. I mean, we talk about Mars, but Mars is it's out there. That's a hard place to go to in the vacuum of space and get all the things right, where you can also get maybe somebody back. That's hard.
It's a long ways from home, and there's a lot of stuff that has to happen.
Yeah. But I dare say there's got to be an understanding that if you sign up for a mission like that, there's a good chance
you may not come
you're
back.
not coming back.
And you
just like
you will survive getting there, but you probably won't have time to come back because it takes a long time.
Just like the explorers back in the day when they hopped on that boat and were sailing into the ocean.
Yeah,
there's a good chance we're going to die out here.
Yeah,
you know. Until
maybe we need to just put Musk on one of those rockets and send him on up. He wanted to go to Mars and start an outpost there. Let's get him there.
Oh, that's funny. Well, so, you know, without, I would say, the bicycle, we would have never, you know, got to the point where we created flight, and then flight led to other things, and space and rockets and all the stuff. So we'll kind of rewind this back a little bit to the bicycle. And one of the reasons for this podcast is really to talk sometimes about other things, but also, occasionally about the bicycle. And the one question that I always try to ask people when they're here is, do you recall when you first learned how to ride a bicycle?
Not really. The only things I really remember are my parents. So we grew up in a different time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember, the parents said, hey, go outside. Don't come back until the street lights turn on.
Drink out of the water hose. We didn't have seat belts.
No helmets.
No helmets.
No helmets. And we were out on our bikes, and we went a long ways on our bikes.
Yeah, if you were playing outside, your parents really didn't know where you were.
Yeah.
They would, I think my parents would always say, you need to be in earshot of when you hear me calling your name.
No, not mine.
That never happened. I didn't hear you, Mom.
Well, that, and you always knew where your friends were.
Well,
because there'd be 6 bikes out in front of their house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if you don't recall when you learned to ride, do you remember maybe one of your first bicycles?
Yes, I had one that had a wheelie bar on the back. You remember that? The real tall bar on the back so that you could lean back.
Oh, really?
And pull a wheelie. Yeah.
Oh,
and I had a tire
okay.
on the back of it called a gripper slick. It's about that wide, very flat, so you could pull wheelies.
Okay.
I don't know how that helped you, but that was whole thing.
I think if you do a search for that in the Googles, it's really cool because it's like some kind of contraption that you can add on or take off. Mm-hmm. And all it was like when you pulled back, it kept you from falling back over.
No, this was a different thing. This was the main tire. The rear tire was just very flat and wide.
Okay.
And then it had like grooves in it. That was the gripper part of the gripper slick.
But I'm talking about the
and then the bar.
The bar. The
banana
bar
seat with the bar.
Oh, okay.
In the back. So we were really cool. And then
do you have ape handlebars?
On one of my bikes, I did.
Monkey handlebars?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Gorilla bars.
Gorilla, yeah.
We're hanging up here.
Did you have a neighborhood bike gang?
Oh, yeah. Everybody had a different kind of bike. And we had, like everybody probably had the Honda Hills down the street where you'd go right up and down the hills, back and forth, time after time after time.
What's your fondest memory, if you can recall it, riding on a bicycle? Do you recall a time when you maybe crashed and hurt yourself?
Oh, too many to speak of. Oh, our big thing was building bridges across our ditch.
Oh yeah, so you could ride across.
And it'd start out going down into the ditch and be a jump, and then it'd get higher and higher, and then you'd get all the way up to the top, and you're trying to build across a 25-foot structure across 25 foot. So we had
this all of a sudden you're getting into engineering now.
And not very good engineering was the problem. We had a construction site right around the corner from our house where they were building apartments, and we'd just scavenge wood that was thrown away, and we'd take it out there and build stuff. We'd build ramps and bridges, and for better or for worse. And then they'd get knocked down for some reason, and the city was taking them away for some reason. I don't understand why.
They thought it was
so
trash.
We'd rebuild again.
You kind of makes me think about all the crazy mountain bikes and structures that they're building and ramps and bridges to go across things. Do you do any mountain biking?
Oh yeah, absolutely love the mountain biking. I'd like to do it more, but it kind of takes me back to when I was a kid. It's the same feel. You're just the freedom, the going up and down. The road cycling's good for some things, but for the excitement, to me, it's getting out on the trails.
Do you have a preferred style of riding that you like? Do you default to road, gravel, mountain?
So I kind of default to road just because right where we are, we go out and do road rides every 2 or 3 days now.
Easy to hop out onto the road.
Yeah, you can just do it. I ride my gravel bike all the time with the group guys. That does probably 3 or 4 rides a week. I prefer being on the mountain, downhill, especially with you guys providing the van and taking people back up.
This Saturday we got a shuttle run option. So
those are the best because you work riding down, but you're not having to pedal back up.
Yeah, that's the beauty of something like that, is it feels all roller coasty. That's a word. You just like having fun going downhill, hitting the jumps, and then you get done and you're like, I want to do that again.
Yeah.
Like, I got to ride back up.
Exactly.
That's where shuttles and or e-bikes really come into play, I think. There's a lot of people who think e-bikes are cheating, but I'm just like, cheating yourself out of fun if you don't get one. So but there's also like
you get a good workout. You get a good workout on a bike. Now, my full suspension mountain bike, that's an e-bike, I can keep up with the road riders. Yeah. I can do 28 miles an hour on it. And they hate me for it.
Yeah.
And I am pedaling my tail end off and getting a good workout. So I think the nice thing about e-bikes is it levels the playing field. If you're somewhere, say your spouse, not my spouse, but a spouse is not a bike rider, and you get them out there on an e-bike, they can keep up with you.
Yeah.
And for a time, that was the only way I could keep up with Karen.
Well, the bicycles, talk about evolution of digital cameras from film. Bicycles have come the same way with e-bikes, electronic shifting, even hydraulics. And then now even you can get more finite if you look at wheel systems and look at what they've done with tubeless wheels from mountain and even to road. I mean, there's faster wheels now with larger tires than you would ever expect. And back when I got started, the goal was like the skinniest the tire you have, the faster you're going to go. And now it's like, I think my road bike has 32 mil wide, and now they've been doing testings on 40 mil wide road tires, and they're saying they can get those just as fast with all the aerodynamics and all the things. I'm like, wow.
I saw that article today.
So there's a huge evolution of tech. I mean, heck, we're in 2025 now, and then when did the iPhone come out? 2000 and is it 7? I mean,
close enough.
We're almost 20 years into, handheld computer touchscreen technology, and they're still ever evolving. We're going to get eye implants, and pretty soon we're going to become the computer. That's my prediction right there.
Yeah, there you go. I'd like to get a set of those glasses that have the little heads-up display.
Yeah. Like airplane fighter pilots have those things, and I mean that tech's crazy, but that would be great to have sunglasses where you can have a readout easily of what your speed is, direction you're going,
where you need to make the next turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's what I love about triathlons. I mean, you kind of meld all of it. You take the swimming, the running, and the biking and put it all into one spot, and that's kind of where my joy is right now.
Is the sport of triathlon?
Yeah, triathlon. I think the people are different.
Now you're shooting all the time. Do you ever get to do a triathlon?
I have done your race before, back 14 years ago.
No. Let's be clear. You've never done my race.
I did.
You've done Rocket Man as a race, but not the one I've race directed. So let's just be clear. If there is a time that you want to do it, you just let me know. We'll find extra photographers and let you jump in and do all the events. You want to do that? Should we set that up this year?
No, not this year. This year's not looking good. Although I'm thinking about doing a open water swim.
Oh yeah, which one?
In Ireland.
Oh really?
Swim the Moy.
When is that?
That's in right around the 4th of July.
Okay.
It's 2 weeks. Let's see. I think it's a week after the 4th of July.
So you'll have to come back. And how long's the swim?
So they have a 600-yard and then a 1.5 miles, I believe. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, first I got to get into the pool.
Do the 1.5 miles.
That's what I was thinking. It's all downriver.
Yeah, do the 1.5 miles. You just float half the time if it's downriver.
I can do that.
That's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Have you ever swam Hobbs Island?
No, I haven't. Well,
that's a hard sentence to say. Have you ever swam Hobbs Island?
Yeah. Say that 3 times quick. I have not, but I've been in the water. See, that's kind of my thing. And it gets back to how...
Yeah, Mia, go to one of the shots there of him in... Yep, right here. If you look at the...
Actually in the water,
You're in the water. And that's an amazing looking camera rig. That's an underwater... That's like something James Cameron would use filming the Titanic.
Yeah, that's a monster. I've actually gotten a more streamlined one now, which is a little bit easier, but still floats. But it's going back and trying to figure out how to do things better, get better results, faster results. Like we get the pictures out in an hour.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly.
Do things differently, being in the water.
I think, and I've seen it so many times where you're snapping the pictures and then boom, that day. I mean, I think sometimes you have pictures up and ready on a race website faster than the results are posted. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, do you ever have FOMO, fear of missing out, not doing a race, not doing an event?
Not really. I feel like I'm a part of the event as I'm doing it. Like Swim Hobbs Island, I'm in the water.
Getting a workout?
I'm getting the good workout. Don't let me fool you. Even with fins on, everybody says I cheat, but it's a good workout, and I enjoy
sometimes
doing
those
that.
fins, they make you go faster, but you've got to really flutter your legs to get there. And I can see it being kind of pooped. You know what? In fact, here's a question for you doing all these events. You know, you think of, especially, let's take triathlon, and you've shot all those, and, you know, triathletes have to really go into an event with, you know, hopefully trained, but with nutrition in mind and what they're going to eat and when they're going to eat and the snacks and all the things. You're out there basically from start to finish, almost to the last person, making sure even the very last person has got their photo taken. You're out there a considerably long time. Do you plan snacks and hydration and things like an athlete would? Or do you just like, I'm hungry now, I'm going to grab a snack? Or do you like have in your hip pack, you know, some electrolytes, some salt tablets?
Well, there's a lot to that. One is training. I run and I cycle so that I'm prepared to be out for that long, because it is very physical. It is a hard thing to get out there and be on your feet, run around with 10, 15 pounds of gear on.
Yeah. Is that typical? What's the typical?
Probably about 15 pounds.
15 pounds. And is that
with all the stuff I carry and 2 cameras and all the lenses and stuff. I usually try to bring water with me, some snacks, try to have something with me because it is a long day. Yeah.
Is there something that you wish you could be a part of, taking pictures, like an event or I don't know, moment in history where all of a sudden you're there and you're like, oh, wow.
That's a good question. You know, I would really love to be able to go to the Olympics, and I'd love to be able to shoot sand volleyball.
Oh, really?
Beach volleyball at the Olympics.
What's the next one? Is it in LA?
Yeah, I think so. And
I think LA is.
We're going to try to go out there. And
yeah, I mean, what's stopping you? Can you sign up for a thing? No. I don't know. I don't know. Is there like a union of photographers?
Not really. You have to really have someone that you're working for to get into it. It's like I just shot the Conference USA basketball. I've been shooting that kind of stuff for years. They saw what I'd done in the past, and they said, we need someone new to come in and take over this role. So that's kind of how it works. You don't just sign up and say, hey, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Typically, you've got to kind of have a portfolio, and they've got to kind of know who you are.
Gotcha.
And what you've done in the past, and almost be invited. You've got to get press credentials in order to do it. There's a lot more to it, and a lot of people with cameras that want to go off and do that stuff.
Why specifically beach volleyball?
Used to love playing. I absolutely love the sport. I think it's one of the toughest sports around. And just, there's always something going on. There's always action. You get some sports and you have a lot of breaks in the action. I think this is continuous. It's just always on. And the people are really nice.
Yeah.
All the folks that I've met through shooting with the city, very nice. Even the ones that go off to the Olympics, they'll sit and talk about what they're doing and how they do things.
How often do we have, because we got a few kind of major volleyball tournaments that roll through Huntsville with the John Hunt volleyball courts.
Yeah, in fact, I'm really excited. They're actually going to expand the number of courses they have out there.
Oh, is it courses or courts? Well,
courts,
I don't know.
It's courts.
Beach volleyball is but it's not necessarily a court because it's a beach.
Yeah.
There's sand.
Yeah.
Or is it beach? There's sand.
Field.
Sand court? I don't know.
I think it's court. But they're expanding that facility. The Huntsville Sports Commission brings in a lot of college groups, kind of like CUSA.
Yeah.
They've got several of those coming in the next couple months. As you get toward the end of the semester, they're starting to have all their championships. So there's probably 3 or 4 major groups coming into town to play volleyball. In fact, I encourage you, if you are interested in volleyball, go out and see it. It's a great game and it's all fun.
I have to work on my beach volleyball bod.
I'm telling you.
Some push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and
work on that dad bod.
try to get that Top Gun beach volleyball look going.
Oh yeah, there you go, with the glasses and the.
So that's the only volleyball reference I know of a movie that's got beach volleyball in it. I think the end of this month is the Paralympic or paracycling race. Are you shooting for that this year?
Yeah, I actually am. I'm shooting a race in Decatur that morning, and then as soon as I finish going out there, there's 2 of us that are going to cover it. This one is going to be a time trial, so this is a little different this year. There's only going to be one type of race, and it's a time trial. So each person goes out by themselves, and they're trying to beat the time. But this is kind of a forerunner for next year. They're bringing the World Championship Paralympic cycling to Huntsville, which is a huge, huge deal for us.
Yeah, I think that's been here before, I believe. The World, or is it the World?
One of the World Cup races was here.
Okay,
that is a qualifier to get into the World Championships. But this is the World Championship.
That's going to blow up big. Yeah. I need to start saving up for.
You need to start training.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't think I'll ever. That's hard stuff, man.
I'm telling you.
I participated, and there's a guy from Oregon who called up here, and his teammate had, I think, moved to a different team or whatever, and he was like, I really want to race this year. Does anybody do it? And I was like, I'll do it. I don't know anything. So I hopped on tandem with him and was his pilot, and man, I was slow.
But I thought you're just supposed to be there to steer, right?
No, you're cranking out
Are you?
You're trying to match the watts that your athlete that you're supporting is, and gosh, that was hard.
Oh, I bet.
I was not, and I'd never, what was also challenging for me was, one, we had never ridden together before. So we had like one practice day for like an hour. And then two was on a bike I'd never been on before.
Yeah.
So I was getting used to positioning and what I need to adjust. And then I was probably not the best of shape. And then on top of that, you're in an environment where I'm looking around. I was like, these people they do this. I don't do that.
They do it for a living.
And
they're amazing.
Yeah. It's in they're all walks of, or all levels of certain, contraptions they're riding, all levels of certain disabilities. And I've never been more humble in my life about what graces I've been given, in all of my factories are operating correctly. And they have, maybe an amputation, and they're out there scooting on a bicycle and just ripping it up. And it's amazing to see. And they've really teched out their equipment and their bike, and then the attachments go into an arm or a leg or whatever to get them clicked in the right way so they can do the ride. And then they're on top of that fast. I mean, yep. The top of their game athlete, and then some, better than I'll ever be. And then they also have a disability. And it's just amazing to be around, because
very inspiring.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's very little complaint. And almost so where I've seen and observed some of them where they get really into it, almost like, man, this guy's not even worried about his disability. He's worried about his equipment not working so he can win this thing. And it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just like he's zoned in, or she's zoned in.
Yep.
Blown away by that. And it's cool that you got to like take a lot of shots for that. Where was that, those shots, like published, produced, sent off? Is that just for your own personal thing, or were you shooting for the city, or when you went out there to shoot some of those?
So I was shooting for the Convention Bureau.
Okay.
The Huntsville, Madison County Convention Bureau, I think is what they are.
Do they contract you often to, how did you get involved and associated with that?
So I do a lot of work for the Huntsville Sports Commission, and the two groups work together to bring different type sports into town. Like the convention folks brought in the Conference USA. They're the ones that work the Paralympics. And then Huntsville Sports Commission does a lot of high school, college type athletics. So a little different, similar, but different. So they all know each other. I know all of them because of my interactions with shooting pictures and stuff. But all those pictures are out on my website, out on the We Run Race photos, and over several years.
Here in my fit studio behind, I've got a picture. The frame's out of sight to see this, but that's me on the tandem when I did that
that's
Paralympic
a nice shot
race.
of you.
And
you look good.
You took that actually, yeah. And it looks awesome because that you've got a very blurred background, and it looks like I'm smoking up. I'm not going that fast.
You were going quick. You're hoofing it there.
I was breathing hard for sure.
I could tell.
But that was a fun, like, to see that. Like, I think that's one of my best action shots ever on a bicycle. And it's fun seeing you in all of these races when I'm actually competing. You're always just so happy and friendly.
Well, that's a big part of it. I hope that
you make
giving people a little burst.
You do. Like, I see you and I'm about to throw up a lung, and I see you and I was like, oh, I can't show how tired I am. I got to look good for the camera. But you've got a happy disposition and smile on you, and you make like, oh, I'm doing this for fun. you reel it back in. I'm like, as much as I'm hurting, I'm doing it for fun.
And it is fun. It is fun to watch everybody and kind of live vicariously through you guys as you're doing it, because I know what you're feeling and what you're going through, and hopefully the little burst gets you through it. It's like Oak Barrel, one of my favorite races. I'm always sitting right toward the top of Whiskey Hill.
Yeah.
And you see people trudging up and they're looking down and just kind of trudging along. And then all of a sudden they see me and they put a smile on their face and they start running. It's just fun to see that, have that impact.
Is there ever a time where your camera equipment didn't get anything?
Oh, I had one time where I was on Whiskey Hill and I had shot pictures in RAW, which means
that's
fully clothed, but shooting pictures in the RAW.
That's a big file format.
Huge file format. And I had a lot of pictures on there. And all of a sudden, my camera said, "You are full. No more pictures, buddy." And
you just pack up and go home?
No. I sat there and cried.
Did you really?
No. Actually, I had another camera. I just grabbed the other camera and I popped the drive out and put it into that camera and figured out, okay, that's why. But as that's happening, people are still running by me, so I'm still trying to do all that.
Do you have a preference of format, like RAW versus JPEG?
Always JPEG, just because the files are way too big in RAW. Takes a lot more processing. A part of my thing is, how do I process the pictures quicker so that I can get them uploaded quicker so that you get them quicker?
Do you feel like you ever lose an element of post-production quality where you can't, I could have, if I was in RAW, I could edit it this way and pull out certain shadows or lights or colors?
Typically, no. Only one picture have I ever felt that way. And this was the coolest shot ever. And I actually didn't even take the picture, which made it even better. Because Rachel took the picture. Now, Rachel's my daughter. She used to go with me to all the races until she moved away to Colorado, but we won't hold that against her. But we were at Seven Bridges in Chattanooga. It's a half marathon. Oh, actually a marathon and a half marathon, but they run across all the bridges that are there. So there's 7 bridges. So one of the bridge crossings, all these people are coming toward me. I had a flash unit set up over here. I'm taking a picture of somebody. She's taking a picture looking back at me and it's dark. She took it at the exact same instant that I did because the flash is going off. Mm-hmm. And so you see this beam of light going down on this lady that's highlighted. I'm kind of in the light too. And Rachel's taking a picture looking back at us at the exact same instant. So there's a lot of light there. And it's not just dark. So it was an amazing picture because she caught the runner, me, the flash going off at the same time.
Oh, that's cool. And wow, that's also incredibly hard to ever time.
I don't know if you can really time that.
Do you have any advice for anybody wanting to get into photography, whether it's for sporting events or, I don't know, landscape photos?
The biggest thing is practice. Get out there, find something you like, practice, practice, practice. That's the biggest thing. Also understanding the difference between ISO, f-stop, and speed.
Oh gosh.
In the interactions, if you change one, if you up one, you have to lower one of the other ones.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a lot of that's done automatically in the camera. Take your camera off automatic.
Yeah, I tell you what, like, that's been and with this camera here that I'm recording on, that's been fun, but also like I can't remember. There's all these numbers all in like aperture, or the f-stop is all right. The smaller the number, the bigger the aperture is. That doesn't make, because I think of it opposite, and so I'm always thinking backwards, I guess, on it. And then you're wait ISO. Wait, the larger the number now, the more light comes in. But that's for, oh man, why can't I just adjust the f-stop and it figure it out for me? And then when you're recording in frames per second versus like you need your shutter speed at a certain, oh man, it's a lot.
Makes your head want to explode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, do this math that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the numbers you get higher and you get more light, and some of the numbers you get smaller, you get less light.
But that's I guess that's got to be the beauty of digital now. It's still the same concept as film, but you get immediate understanding of, okay, let me snap this picture. Oh, the lighting's bad. It's really dark. Let me adjust this number. Take the same exact one.
Yes.
Versus film, it's just like, why didn't that come out right? Oh,
yeah.
It's because everything was off.
Yeah. So like basketball, I shoot it completely manual. I'll set it, and it keeps it more constant.
Mm.
The pictures, the level of light, more constant. So, but if I'm shooting a running race, I shoot at the largest aperture.
I just ordered an adapter for this camera to use some old Canon FD lenses.
That'll be fun.
And I'm going to be very interested in how that works, because it's going to be a lot of manual focus in aperture setting, where you can't change it, and you whether you snap it or film it, it's recorded, I should say. There's no film at that point. But like it's going to bring it back to almost a film aspect.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But immediate understanding and gratification of if you got a cool shot. So
now film's making a big comeback.
Yeah.
Really big. In fact, there's people that specialize in like weddings, and they only use film.
Interesting.
Because you get a whole different feel to it. With those lenses having to focus manually. That's what I had to do back in college.
Right.
And it's a game changer having this new camera where it will find your eye as you're running toward me and focus on it.
This camera right here is doing that exact thing. It's set up in a auto wide range, but it has face and eye detection,
which is a game changer.
Yeah.
For me. Because I can't focus fast enough. I still can't turn that knob fast enough to get it right in focus, especially if you're moving toward me.
Wait till they figure out how they can like pluck out our eyes and put new like biomechanical eyes in, where we can like zoom in, zoom out, laser focus everything.
Hey, your eyes are amazing though. Just the difference between what your eye sees and what the camera sees is amazing.
I wonder what, if you had to examine the eye and figure out like what lens is in there, like what it would come out to be.
I think it's like a 50 millimeter.
You think it's like a 50?
Yeah, it's about a 50 millimeter, I think.
Okay.
That's about.
And a 50 mil is kind of like the standard in a lot of this like point and shoot cameras, right? So that's the go-to. And 50 mil with like, I think if you get a f-stop of like 1.8, isn't that like the creme de la creme of lenses?
Yes, the most expensive ones are kind of the standard for my stuff is 2.8.
2.8, okay.
Yeah, which is still right up there and that's because I'm using zoom lenses so much, because a lot of what I do to try to cut down on post-processing is as you're running toward me, I'm changing the zoom on it to go ahead and crop the picture as I'm taking it rather than doing it in post-processing.
Ah, look at you with the little tricks. That's why.
That's how I do it so fast.
That's how you do it. Gregg Gelmis. We're about an hour 15 into it.
Wow, already?
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
We're just having a fun conversation.
I thought we were about 10 minutes into it.
Yeah. What do you have? I don't know. What's next for you into this next month or so? We got race season starting to pop up. What's your first running event or cycling event or triathlon event? You got anything coming up that you know about?
So we've got a fun one in Decatur coming up at the end of the month, same day as the bike race.
What's that?
Paralympics. It's the Marmac 5K and 10K. So you run a 5K first, and then you have the option of adding a 10K on right after that. About 30 minutes after you finish, they're going to run a 10K.
So you have the option of like 9 miles.
So you can do both if you want, or one or the other. That's going to be over in Decatur, which would be a lot of fun. We also have one of my favorites is the Mud Run.
Oh, where's that?
That's at Madison Academy.
Okay.
On their campus. A lot of fun. It's a great one to do with a group because they have a bunch of obstacles. So you're not doing it as a timed thing. They have kind of wave starts. So you start every 15 or 30 minutes. But you do it as a group and you help each other through each of the different obstacles. So you get wet, you get muddy, you climb stuff.
You as someone documenting that event in particular, are you going into it knowing I'm going to get a little dirty?
Oh, I always get dirty because there's always one person. I like to be really close to where they have the mud crawl. So they've got the wiring up above them, so they have to stay low.
Is that the one where it's also electrified?
No, this one, they don't do that. Although I've asked, that'd be fun. But as soon as they come out, the first thing they do is go, whop!
Sling all the mud off.
And the mud goes everywhere. So I probably still have some mud on my equipment from last year. That race.
Is there a favorite event that you love to always go to that's like, I never want to miss this?
That is an excellent question. And, there's a couple like Rocket Man. Fun race. It's long enough to where you really see how hard people are running and how hard they are performing. And you see it in their face when they come back in.
Yeah.
That's a great race. I love that one.
And it's really fun too, being now back on the Arsenal.
Yes, on the Arsenal. Adds a whole new dimension to it.
It's I think of all the events I've ever been a part of, there's a relief in me that's like, gosh, I appreciate it being here because it's so relatively safe.
Yes.
I mean, there's nary a car on the course, and it's designed to be like super fast and straight. So, and
you got some really cool structures, so we can get some nice pictures of you.
I know.
Where else can you get that? A rocket in it, or
it's fun to ride and train on the Arsenal, and then you're zipping by, a helicopter or a rocket simulation, and it's super fun. So.
Yeah, and then Oak Barrel's coming up. That's got to be one of my favorites of all time. We moved here the year that they started it. Karen has run it every single year. I've done photography every single year.
So Karen's never missed?
Never missed.
That's
Knock
awesome.
on wood. We want to keep that string going. She slowed down a little bit.
Hey, there's no shame in slowing down.
And it's just, I wish I could figure out what it is they do and bottle it and just sell it to other race directors, because the whole thing with the food, the stew afterwards, the small town atmosphere, the whiskey hill, just everything kind of comes together. I don't know what it is. I
think it's about having an event that is uniquely different than everything else. I mean, 5K run and anybody can put that on. But when you add, an oak barrel, right? Wait, what does that mean? And when you have something like Whiskey Hill, when you have something unique and fun like that, that's when you can play with. Hey, this is difficult. Kick your butt, but we're gonna have some fun while we do it. Yeah. I think when you can create that culture in a race, that's the difference.
I think, is that picture in here too?
Maybe. Let's. Is
that one in here?
Let's go through these pictures. There's a Rocket Man. That's the first back year after a while, and people jumping in the water. See how happy she is. That's a great shot, and that's you actually in the water.
Yeah, I'm actually in the water looking up, so that's fun. And also when they come swimming back in, I'm able to capture them. What's the next one?
Oh, that's you on a little one wheel contraption.
On the one wheel, yes.
Man, that's a great idea to get from one part to another without having to have a lot of weird bicycle gear or scooter on you. You hop on that thing, zip around. That's awesome. That
is a lifesaver. It helps me get around and get on the course, which
I appreciate you wearing gloves and a helmet while you're on that, because that thing can scoot.
It's a good way to bust your tail.
It can be. It's not hard to ride. There's another. That's the race in the station.
Yep.
God, that's just a fun one wheel contraption. Those are fun to ride. Talk about the evolution of a thing. You got a gyroscope balancing you and a motor and battery in there, and you can go.
You can stand 50. There and keep it level.
Yeah.
And just stop.
Yep.
Completely. But yeah, this race is a lot of fun too. I mean, all the triathlon, the Team Rocket races, absolutely love the group. If you want to join one group that you really feel a part of and everybody welcomes you, no matter what ability you are, that's the group.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing that I love most about them is they give every penny that they raise to a charity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's the right thing to do. And they do it well.
They do. It's super fun to be a part of that club. Mia, hit that next photo.
Is there one more?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's you and some various...
Oh, I guess we didn't pull up that one. We got the 3 girls jumping on the
okay.
The other one. That's a fun picture from Oak Barrel. That is probably the toughest race I've shot, because it was an Ironman length triathlon. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Is it the Cheehaw one?
Cheehaw, yeah. So they swim in the lake, then they do the Cheehaw Challenge bicycle ride.
Yeah.
So, Cheehaw is the tallest point in Alabama. So they ride from the valley up the mountain, down the other side. They turn around and come back up the mountain. And then they run 26 miles on the Pinhoti.
Wow.
Cheehaw Extreme Triathlon.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I think that's right. Mia, hit that last photo right there. Tell me about this right here, because where is that?
That is in France.
So is that you taking that photo in France?
I actually took that picture. So I did that trip. Eric Dorman does a trip.
Yeah.
Up to a couple of them, but this one actually is to France. And if you are a climber, man, this is an incredible trip.
What if I'm a climber on the e-bike? Can I do that?
I bet you can.
Okay.
We didn't really have e-bikes when I was doing it. They didn't have the e-bike set up, or else I would have gotten one. But I am a downhiller all day long. Alpe d'Huez. Absolutely love the downhill on that. And I just scream down it. And then I wait for the bus, put my bike on the bus, and then drive it back up. That's what I did on my off days. I was following them around, taking pictures for the trip.
I got to say, that's got to be one of the best gigs in a lot of ways is, hey, let me go do this event with you guys. And I take all the pictures, but still get to enjoy all the things.
Exactly. Especially the food. The food was amazing. We had a little cottage, not a cottage, I guess it was a chalet. up at the top that we stayed at, and they made these amazing meals every night. I had to tell them, give me half portions, because I wasn't riding like they were.
Man, Gregg, we could keep going. This would turn into probably more bandwidth than I have the ability to pay for. Yeah, and process. I mean, if anything, what's great about most of my guests is that I've had so far is they're like, we could go for hours and hours talking about just fun stuff. And I'm not opposed to having you back and talking about more stuff. I had no idea how involved with kind of NASA you were and how long you worked for him. That's, you know, your NASA stuff. I'm going to ask
Very
you
small segment.
Yeah, but
Very
still,
small.
I mean, one small segment for man, one giant segment for mankind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I'm going to pick your brain more about that because you know some stuff.
Let's talk.
I might have to get you to pull some strings so I can do the adult space camp.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I know somebody there.
I might have to. Hey, once this podcast goes like super international,
there we go.
The people will just want me to be at their space camp.
Exactly.
For all the celebrity.
I'd vote for that.
I appreciate you coming, and I mean that when I see you in an event, I get so happy because it's going to be a fun one. You're always so positive. You're always so cheerful. You're always making me look good. Whether I'm on the bike or even running. Sometimes I run, and running, like, it's rare that you find people happy when they're running.
There's that.
And you make people look good when they run too. So,
I try my best.
Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you'd love to share with anybody?
The only thing is just get out there and be active. Go out and have some fun. Try getting some people out with you and just take them for a walk. The more people we get out doing things active, the better off we're going to be as a society. So get out there and be active.
And for all things, we will know that you are active because Gregg Gelmis will document it.
I'll catch you in action.
All right.
Thank you
love
much.
It. Yeah. Sign us off. Man, it's fun you helping out with this. This is great.
Yeah, this is fun. I absolutely love it. I kind of leery at first.